Nithyananda, welcome back to Yoga from the Source. We will start with the Satguru Vandanam and then we will get going into today's episode.
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyadiraksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Yoga from the Source and the Ananda's YouTube channel, wherever you're watching from. Currently, if you're on with us, you are definitely on our YouTube channel. And today we're going to be sharing with you guys all about the mystical side of yoga that really most people have never heard about and is really, really unknown, untalked about, and has not really come to the West yet in the Western understanding of yoga. And that is yogic powers, or Shaktis is the Sanskrit word. And yogic powers are a huge, huge, huge component of the yogic sciences that are really untouched and untapped. And so we're going to dive in to this very, very interesting subject with you guys today, share some of our experiences with these powers, with these Shaktis directly, and just share with you guys what it's all about and why it matters. So I am Dridha Prasiddha Ananda, or Prasiddha for short, and this is my husband, Sri Nithyananda Dridhananda. And we're just going to start off today basically sharing with you guys that if you've ever known about yoga or practiced yoga and have heard anything about it, you've most likely heard or experienced the physical benefits for sure. The most popular aspect of yoga that's shared nowadays is the physical. It's the asana practice, the posture practice, and the healing benefits of that practice. And that's amazing, right? It has a lot of potential to heal the human body. There's even modern medical studies that have been sharing a lot about proving the healing sciences of yoga physically. And then there's the mental side, right? The mental side is the next layer that people experience when they practice yoga, especially as they get more into more authentic yoga, and they don't just practice at a gym, but maybe at a yoga studio that's like a smaller yoga studio. They might be experiencing some of those mental benefits, the peace, the tranquility of mind, the de-stressing, the de-anxiety, all those really powerful effects that yoga absolutely does bring to its practitioners. But on top of those two layers, on top of the mental and the physical healing that happens, there's a whole other deeper exploration of this yogic science, which the whole science is actually crafted for and around, I can say. And that is the yogic Shaktis, the yogic powers. These are awakening our consciousness itself. So not just at the level of body and mind, but the consciousness, the spirit. And they're these innate capabilities every human being has, but we don't necessarily know how to access them. And yoga is the science to do that. And so maybe you can share with us a little intro into this.
Well, a lot of people understand these Shaktis as well as Siddhis. The most common yoga practitioners, if you've studied Patanjali and his teachings, Patanjali has spoken on these Siddhis and 8 Siddhis in particular. However, a lot of people, there's this buzz around the practice of developing Siddhis and developing these powers, and thinking it's wrong to do so, and you should not, because it's obstructing you on your path to liberation, which in one sense is true. Yes, if you get too involved in the attempt to achieve these Siddhis, and then you just are so focused on these Siddhis and you don't have all of the rest of your practice crafted out, the rest of your being carved out to really radiate from a complete space those Siddhis, then yes, it could be a detriment. But first and foremost, that does not mean that we should not be getting to a state where we could express these powers. And what we're talking about today isn't necessarily even Siddhis. The Siddhis are something that happens outside of us. It's when you're controlling the externally.
Really, it's like Siddhis are considered in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. How he's referring to them is the powers, the superhuman abilities, which come from our own tapas. They come from our own spiritual practice and dedication. And so what he warns about, the sage Patanjali warns about in the scriptures, is basically that, yeah, obviously if you're trying to transcend the ego cannot be focused on itself, which is that if you're always feeling glorified, you're feeling like you've achieved these amazing things, that can obviously be a distraction on the path. That makes total sense. But this is taken out of context nowadays because that's the only yogic scripture that people have or know about, really. But the funny thing is that that's actually a recent yogic scripture in the perspective of yoga literature. That's a recent scripture. And so if we actually look at the original source texts, like the Agamas, like the Shiva Sutras, and all of these thousands and thousands of documented scriptures that are thousands of years older than Patanjali Yoga Sutras, they're explaining that basically because we've come into a higher conscious space, Shaktis can manifest. We're not trying to do them. There's no effort involved on our part, and that's the biggest difference. We're not seeking to achieve anything. We're not seeking of our own volition to do something. They happen through one, initiation by a guru, an enlightened being who already is in that space, and they just flower in you when you're coming into those higher conscious spaces through your yoga practice, through all of the different dimensions of the yoga practice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Shaktis they're expressed from Advaita, from the space of oneness. So each time you express a Shakti, a power, you're actually you're so connected to the cosmos as yourself. That's the state that these powers are expressing from. This is a direct technique to unite, yoga, to be one with the cosmos. And as Prasiddha just said, these powers were not just talked about by Patanjali, even the Shiva Sutras. And today I have with me the Shiva Samhita, which is a Shastra Pramana coming from Shiva himself. And what he's saying in this is, with one asana we're going to talk about right now, is Ugrasana. And this is a part of the Patama Vinyasa Krama. It's one of the most intense asanas.
Yeah, it is actually.
When you are, it's basically like Paschimottanasana. However, you have your hands interlaced, your fingers interlaced behind your neck.
Maybe.
And for those watching, it's like Paschimottanasana. And when you're leaning forward and down and you're tucking your chin down, there's this incredible sensation that happens on your spine and that flows from the base of the spine all the way up to the tip of your neck. And it's a very uncomfortable sensation. But I know without a doubt, from my own experience, when I'm just so focused and tuned in to that sensation, it's an opportunity to dive into and allow the Kundalini to flow more. And why this is such a powerful asana is in the Pramana, it says that those who practice this obtain all of the siddhis. They obtain all of the powers. The Pramana itself is saying, practice this and you will obtain all of the powers. So asanas, and this is just one scriptural reference, one Pramana that we have for the asanas, but there's numerous different asanas that speak on performing various different postures, etc. And you can express this power or that power, or you might be able to achieve liberation just from directly practicing this one asana. So the purpose, yes, there's various different purposes to each asana and various different benefits from the physical side, like Prasiddha was saying, from the mental side, but also from the Shakti side, from our abilities to express various powers.
Yeah, and I think that it's important to note that it's even on top of all the asanas, the postures that are mentioned to give these type of access to higher conscious states, even more so, I would say it's mentioned about pranayama and mudras, especially. Pranayama, mudras, and bandhas are three other components of yoga, very, very essential dimensions of yoga, which a lot of people also don't know about, but it's becoming more and more known, which is great. But these are also considered to be even deeper layers of the yogic sciences that flower even further these abilities, especially because we know breath is life. It's literally the life force. And so when we're able to manipulate and practice different breathing techniques, pranayama, it's extremely powerful to the point where we can heal specific injuries. We can achieve totally different states of consciousness, travel into other spaces. And then we can also, of course, have these abilities manifested through us, like a channel, where like we become that pure channel because the energy is being cleared. And so if you kind of understand it like that, that we are just, yoga is the science of making this vessel as pure as possible to be that channel for higher consciousness. That is what enlightenment is. Ultimately, when you reach it, you're able to hold that frequency. That's all. You're picking up the highest conscious frequency and radiating it instead of just functioning in ego in the individualized consciousness. So that's what Shaktis can help give you an experience of too. Maybe we can share about that too with you guys, is that what I've experienced directly personally from having this as a part of my life, which I never expected it to be, and I never sought it out. And I definitely still don't feel like I in any way have a personal desire to achieve anything with them. But I see the very large vision and purpose of why our guru has incorporated them in our spiritual practice. Because when I've experienced these abilities, which I literally thought there was no way in the world this body, this mind could ever achieve or manifest, and I saw it happen through me, it proved to me the consciousness exists. It proved to me all of these religious and spiritual beliefs that I read about. It's one thing to read about something, it's another to directly experience it. And Shaktis, I think one of the biggest gifts they give you is understanding you are much, much more than this body and mind you thought you were. You're much beyond this space, and there's so much insane amount of possibility inside each of us. We're like a little seed that hasn't even started to grow yet. And there's so much waiting. There's so much there waiting for us.
Yeah. And the thing is, we don't need to do anything even. Like it's just gifted to us. This is a right as being in the human body, from being in the human body. And so I've just seen somebody ask about the Pratama Vinyasa Krama, and this ties in beautifully. The practice of the Pratama Vinyasa Krama, the 108 asana sequence that Swamiji's revealed, which is through Nithyananda Yoga, that is a direct initiation into Kundalini and third eye awakening. So when you practice the Pratama Vinyasa Krama, you're being initiated into being able to express these powers. Ugrasana, the asana that I just mentioned today, is one of those asanas. Practicing this daily, what did the scripture say? Practicing it daily helps you manifest all of the powers. So by practicing daily Pratama Vinyasa Krama, you have the possibility to express these powers. And from our experience, yes, very much so, this is the truth. I never entered into yoga with the concept or the proper understanding that we should be manifesting these powers. And personally, I never felt like I was even going to be able to do it. But when it flows through you, when it happens, it's really like awe-inspiring. It's like you can't cognize yourself as a normal human being anymore. It's a spiritual awakening. It's an initiation into understanding the power of your consciousness and understanding the power of guru as well, because it's not necessarily you doing anything. It's Paramashiva. It's your guru flowing through you, showing you and expressing these powers. You need to drop your own identity completely, your own ego. And when you do that and you connect to Paramashiva and you be in this just space of Advaita oneness, it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and it's a really profound experience, honestly, going through the process of trying, I shouldn't even say trying, but sitting there to manifest powers and going through these processes, because you really know if you've done it, you understand what we're saying when we really say it's nothing coming from you. Because the more I recall throughout the years of being on the spiritual path, like anytime I was really trying to get it, I was getting like kind of tired or frustrated, and I was like, oh, why haven't I seen something yet? I'm not getting anything in my third eye, and I'm trying to force it more and more. The more I did that, the less it will happen. And only when I remember in Thailand when I was at a program with Swamiji called Nithyananda, and I was at my wit's end. We were in this hall with like 500 people, and it was a hall meant for probably 200 people. and we were all sitting on top of each other. Like we were literally like sitting on top of each other on the floor for hours. And at that time I was so uncomfortable sitting on the floor. My body was in so much pain. It had been 10 hours or something of sitting in the floor. I'm sweating. Everyone's bumping me. I'm getting so annoyed. And I just said in my inner space, Swamiji, I'm so done. I give up. This is ridiculous. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. If you're going to do it, do it. I'm throwing a fit. Like, I was literally like throwing a tantrum. I was like, if you're going to manifest this, then go ahead and show it to me. Otherwise, I'm over it. I'm done. And literally that moment, as I like declared that, the next time I was doing the blindfold reading, I was feeling like I wasn't even trying. And my mom, I think, was testing me for the answers, and I was getting everyone right. And I was just like, are you messing with me? And she's like, no, you're getting it. You're getting it. And I just kept getting it. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I wasn't even doing anything. I don't know why it was happening like that. And so many times I've had that experience proven to me where only when I actually completely unclutch and surrender to the process and allow it to happen without my own intervention, that's when the powers will manifest. And
just to give a bit of context, blindfold reading is one of the powers that can be manifested through you, seeing through the three eyes, not or the third eye, not just the two eyes. And so in a lot of Swamiji's programs, we practice the various powers. And one of this is the blindfold reading. And that really became popular around 2016, 2017. That's when he started to initiate individuals.
2015 was our first program.
Okay, so 2015 was the time where Swamiji started to reveal that power and people started expressing it. And there's a lot of videos and demonstrations. We've traveled throughout India. We traveled throughout North America ourselves, showcasing these powers. And a lot of people, one of the main questions is, you know, they see mainly the kids do this, the Bala sons do this. And I would say 100%, Bala sons are more attuned. The younger you are, and the younger you get initiated into these powers, the more likely they are to express. However, there's adults that are doing this. And even to touch on what your father experienced, he was at that exact same program with you. And this was a being that was not at all connected to our guru, not Hindu in any way. And he was able to read blindfolded.
He was getting so many answers right. I mean, continuously getting all the letters on the page, all the numbers on the page, even some words, like he was getting it. And I was like, are you kidding me? But it was cool because, again, it was proof that it had nothing to do with his ego or his beliefs even. It was just happening through him by that initiation. And just to go a little deeper too, it's like in Hinduism, right? In Sanatana Dharma, some of the fundamental beliefs are, I am divine. Every single being is a part of the consciousness, the same consciousness. There's no separation between God and man. This is a very, very fundamental part of Sanatana Dharma, and why I was so drawn to it in the first place. It's a very non-dualistic tradition. Now, it means one thing to continually say that and repeat it to yourself and even at some level believe it. But when you actually experience it, like Dridha was sharing about being a channel for that oneness to come through, that's when you see these cosmic truths are actually that. They are cosmic truths. They're reality. They're not just belief. They're a way the universe functions. And that is why I find Sanatana Dharma to be such an amazing path, because it isn't a religion. It's just living in the most conscious reality possible, aligned to cosmic truth. And that is and Shaktis are a part of this journey for a lot of us, especially those of us in the yogic path. And, you know, there's many different dimensions of Sanatana Dharma, but the yogic path is one of the most popular, I would say, nowadays too, especially. And it's important to know about this and to know the real context behind it, because these sciences are here to show you are God. Look, you can literally read without your eyes. Look, you can literally see someone's house halfway across the world without being there physically and tell them what's inside of their house. Look, you can materialize sacred powders and even sometimes gemstones in your own hands. It's mind-blowing. It really is. But it's there only for one thing, to prove that truth to you. It's there to drill that into you, that this is the reality. And how else would our simple minds, through all of our self-doubt and self-hatred and self-denial, grasp that truth, really? how would we really, really know that that's not just a nice fantasy we're conceiving of, but it's really true? The Shaktis are there, the Yogic Powers are there to show us exactly that. That's been my experience.
Yeah. And of course, it's easy for the logical mind to say, is this real? Is it like to question it, to question seeing a materialization demonstration on YouTube or a blindfold reading demonstration on YouTube. I completely understand that somebody could sit there and assess and be like, that's not real. This is fake for this reason. Oh, they have an earpiece in here. But the reality is, from like the depth of our being, these are real powers. You can express them yourselves. Just because they don't happen for you right away, let's say, that doesn't mean that they're not real. Just because you think you might be able to, what's the word, to prove that they're false, that doesn't mean that they aren't real. They are 100,000% real. The best way for you to understand that and cognize that is to express them yourselves. And so that's what our guru is doing. He's not here to claim that he's the all-powerful being that can do all these things and us peasants can't. It's all about you being able to radiate the state, space, and powers of Paramashiva. And so maybe you want to speak on the first time that you really had that click where...
Yeah, well, I was going to share actually like one of the most recent experiences.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think on another podcast, I actually shared that one of my first experiences. So I thought I'd just give you an updated account because, to be honest with you all, I haven't been using the yogic powers very often since I've been back in the US. I've really been just focused on other things, to be honest. And I've kind of just not been going out of my way to use them. Which is kind of silly because I know they're there and I've seen it. But anyways, I've been kind of just in forgetfulness about, utilizing them. But anyways, one of my really, really good friends, she lives in San Francisco, and she asked me in a panic a few weeks back to body scan her boyfriend because he was having severe pain. So I body scanned him, and I immediately saw that what the visualization I was seeing in my third eye, because that's how it comes to me. It comes as pictures, but everybody's really different and unique in their own way. How
somebody might come in sound, somebody might hear water, or
somebody every individualized consciousness experiences consciousness in a unique way. So that's even the cooler part about it, to hear the variety of experiences everybody has. But for me, I really see a lot of imagery and visualization. So I was seeing in his abdomen, I was seeing an organ really tight and swelling, like it was wanted to pop, and it was pushing against his abdominal muscles. Like the organ was pushing and it was pulling his abdominal muscles also. So that was causing this inflammation and a lot of pain and cramping in that area. And I was just seeing that it was related to an organ swelling. And from what the visualization I saw, I was really concerned. Now, I don't have a ton of medical background. Only recently, obviously, I've been studying Ayurveda, but I haven't done any biology classes and a lot of intense stuff like that. So I didn't even know how to explain it in medical terms, but I just told her what I saw. And I said, I don't say this often, but I really think he needs to immediately go to the hospital. I think don't wait. And she was going to take him in the next day. They were going to wait till after work and all that stuff. And I said, honestly, I am really concerned. I think he needs to immediately get seen. So he goes into the hospital and he gets checked out by one doctor, and they say that he's fine. Basically, they kind of like checked him out too fast, and they said he was okay. But of course, I had a bad feeling about it. And I said, and they said, well, should we go back? They asked me, should we go back for a CT scan as soon as possible? And I was like, no, I really think you need to get the CT scan. The doctor's not seeing something. Is it working?
Okay, if our camera's not working, we'll see if we can bring that back, but just keep sharing.
Take it off and on. So I'll just keep telling the story and maybe Dridha can fix the camera. But anyway, so sorry guys for the technical glitch. So basically I said, no, you need to get the CT scan immediately. And so they went in, and sure enough, the first doctor had completely missed something extremely vital, which was appendicitis. He had appendicitis, which was exactly as I described in my visualization of body scanning. And keep in mind, like, when my friend asked me to do this, I was actually getting kind of nervous because like I said, I hadn't used these abilities in quite some time, and I was just feeling a little timid, and I didn't want to be wrong because I knew he was in severe, like a really serious medical condition. It was beyond my own doing that this science is really real, because I saw exactly what was happening. I'm so glad that I said what I said and trusted in it, because he was in severe appendicitis, and the doctor said if he waited any longer, his appendix would have burst. It was about to burst already, and already it had leaked like poisonous fluid into his abdomen. So that's why he was having such severe pain, and the recovery even took him longer because of that delay. And so thank Paramashiva, I had shared that with him and told him, because it ended up being exactly accurate and helping him get the surgery that he needed and heal. So that was just one experience I had recently that was so cool to see. Sorry, guys, we're just trying to fix up the camera here. Can you guys see us now? Sorry for the delay. We just had to switch cameras. All right, I think we're back online with you guys.
Where were you? I was busy getting this camera back up.
Just finished my sharing about the appendicitis. Do you have any experiences that you want to share before we take some questions?
Yeah. So my first experiences were all during Swamiji's programs, and I can't remember the exact time where I was first able to blindfold read. I think that was actually in Kumbh Mela, Nasik, which was the very first program that Swamiji initiated us into. I was able to see shapes, and I got the occasional word, but I've never been able to manifest seeing completely clearly, but it has come in spurts. And but
that's just with third eye, like reading, but you've done a lot of body scanning.
Yeah.
Remote vision as well.
So what I experienced when I was on our world trip was just being able to body scan people and approach it with having no clue what's wrong with somebody, have them stand in front of you and just connecting to Paramashiva, and then all of a sudden having this flash of information pan in front of you and pan like almost like a dream. And all of a sudden you're able to just see it, and you're just like, is this what you're doing? Somebody was coming up to me one time, and I was just like, such a heavy visualization of them holding one of those really large Starbucks cups, a clear one, and just loaded with coffee. And I was just saying, like, you need to stop drinking these things. Like, I like, it was such a heavy visualization that she was drinking so many of these large Starbucks coffees, and it was just like, you need to stop. And she's like, oh my God, I have one of these every day. and so like just various different things like that. That's just one power and one example. We traveled literally across North America, expressing these powers for people. And we went from, various different parts of India doing this as well. And it wasn't just us. And so there's a lot of different ways that these powers do express. Body scanning is one of them. Third eye blindfold reading, consciousness over matter. There's in total, 463 powers that are available to human beings to express and to connect to Paramashiva. And again, these aren't to separate us from Paramashiva. They are for us to unite deeper with him, to melt into Advaita, into oneness with the cosmos. And it's only empowering, and it's only like logical mind bending happenings. You just snap out of this concept of I am human being, and you start to cognize yourself as No, I am the divine, which is the purpose of yoga.
Absolutely. And I think the last thing I'd want to add is just kind of like a disclaimer for those of you that may be wondering, like I was in the beginning too, what if somebody tries to use these powers like in a bad way, right? You know, like it's a lot of power. What if somebody misuses it? The beautiful thing to know is with Shaktis, they cannot manifest when ego is present. So they can't be used other than to help people, literally. They cannot be used for any other purpose. They will not even manifest through you if you have an intent for violence, for anger, for lust, for greed, for fear, none of that. They will not manifest through you. You won't even be able to tap into that space because they happen through the space of direct oneness, and they only happen in that space. So only when you sit in that space and are able to connect and then be blessed with the experience will something be revealed to you through the third eye. That's how the powers manifest. And so that's the best part about them. There's this cosmic safety guard around them so that for all of us, for our own benefit even, right? So that we don't let it get out of control without even realizing it, that it doesn't damage our spiritual journey or take us away from the path. It's not going to distract us, but only allow us to enrich and help other beings rise in consciousness as well through sharing these abilities and through helping them realize that they can do them too. It's never about like, oh, look what I can do for you. It's like, hey, no, I'll do it for you to show you that you can do it. That's all. Like you have to understand you also can do it just as much as me, just as much as Dridha. And so I definitely call all of you guys today to really tap into this and experiment and play around with it. It is so worthwhile. If you haven't been directly initiated, watch a oneness capsule of our guru or do the yoga sequences for a few weeks, or what else is there? Well, life bliss meditation. There's so many things you can do to help start awakening the third eye and tapping into this space. And I know there's sessions happening globally as well for free on Zoom and stuff like that too. So there's so many ways you can start playing with this.
Yeah. After every satsang, Ma Nithyananda is heading the manifesting power session. So if you just follow our guru's evening discourse on YouTube, if you just stay on a little bit after that, there are sessions for you to start practicing these powers. And listening to satsang itself as an initiation, you just need to put yourself in that position to be open to receive the initiation. I would say from my experience, Nithyananda Yoga is by far the most powerful. I guess for me, I'm very physical, and I've always been very physical by nature. And so moving and bending the body, working with the body to work on my consciousness has really resonated with me. And so I definitely, first and foremost, know from my own experience and would recommend that you practice Pratama Vinyasa Krama, which is, you can do this every morning during Brahma Muhurta. And you even started a WhatsApp group for that. So if you're interested in joining us, it's not necessarily for you to sit and practice with us, but to get up during that early time, because we know how difficult it is for people to wake up and practice yoga during Brahma Muhurta, which is the time we should be moving our body. And so Prasiddha's put together a WhatsApp group for anybody that's interested in a little bit of support to wake up. And it doesn't matter what part of the world you are in, whether it's India or North America or Europe. People from all over are there just to hold the space for one another to wake up during that time. Exactly.
So I want to take some questions now, and then we'll start getting into it. And so you guys, one of you was asking, sorry if I say this wrong, Rosen was asking that she's having, or he or she is having, a repeated vision of being a living avatar of Ganesha. What do I need to know for sure if this is true? So what I would say for this is a reason why it's very important to have a guru on the path, because along the way to enlightenment, we don't know how accurate our interpretations are of things that we see and experience. And it's not to say that like we don't know the truth inside of us. All of us have that compass in some dimensions, but the problem is we're really toxified in a lot of different ways, even mentally and physically. And so even if I'm not discrediting what you're seeing, but we don't know why we're seeing things sometimes. That could be telling you something else and your interpretation is different, right? So Guru is there to always guide us. And I notice with those type of visions about being an incarnation or an avatar that I've heard from many people, quite often those take people in the wrong direction because it's taking you more into the ego. So I would just be careful. Just let it sit in your inner space and don't churn too much with it. Continue doing spiritual practice and try to keep a master in your life that will keep you guided to the path until you actually are self-realized. I would say. Anything you want to add on
Yeah. So when people have these visualizations or dream state experiences that they are Shiva or they are a god or goddess, yes, that is true to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And then, but to take that from a space of ego and then claim that I am this incarnation, I am this avatar, is just you need to tread very carefully there. Although that can and might possibly be the truth at one reality, what you need to first understand is there's a lot of tapas that you need to go through to experience and manifest that. And it's not a simple journey, and it's not something to simply just declare because you've seen it in a dream. And I'm not saying that somebody, they say in a dream and that they have this experience, but we do get messages from people that declare themselves as this god or goddess, and it's just you need to be very careful in those scenarios because that is a trap for the ego. And like I said, there's a lot of tapas that you need to go through to really express that state.
And then we have another question from Bhuvana, who's asking, what are all the Shaktis? So yeah, we kind of mentioned, but we'll just do a quick overview for fun because it's really cool to hear about all the things that we can access. So like Dridha shared, there's 463 revealed powers by Paramashiva. And some of the most utilized ones are body scanning, being able to see inside somebody's body or your own body and see what is going on, what's wrong, what's right, everything. Then there's remote vision. You can see things far away places, basically, far away places and spaces. You can see in detail without being there physically. Then there's, what else?
There's the ability to change somebody's height, consciousness over matter, the ability to create a certain scent or
fragrance,
aroma. There's literally teleportation, materialization. We really need to get a list so we can
blindfold reading, obviously.
Yeah, but
there's a lot.
there's too many to just reel off on the top of our head. When you start to express one power, though, your ability to express all the powers is basically there as well. It just comes down to, and I keep telling people this, it's just like building muscle. If you're going to go to the gym, it takes a little bit of time, and you need to work the muscle and continuously practice resistance training for the muscle to grow. You need to continuously face the ego, the resistance, go through that tapas of this is impossible. Why isn't it happening? Why isn't this not manifesting? And then actually manifesting it, and then continuously going and budding that self-doubt in a sense. And then the powers will start to manifest more and more and more and strengthen. The third eye will start to grow, and you'll really notice the difference.
So good question. Davino asked, when you are manifesting, you do something or not?
The only thing you do is connect to, in our instance, our guru. So you connect to guru and you connect to Paramashiva.
That ultimate consciousness.
And for that, a lot of people connect in a different way. They might just visualize Swamiji. For me, it's a feeling connection. I don't necessarily just visualize him and I'm all of a sudden in this space. I actually have this really deep feeling connection with him, and it's tough to describe what that really is, but it's like, just feel like, like when somebody walks into a room that you absolutely love, well, times that by, you can't even times it by a number, but it's the cosmos, like God, the divine is just sitting in me. And when I connect to that, that's the space of Advaita, the space of oneness, the space of Paramashivatva, where the powers manifest through. It's not that I'm doing anything in particular. I'm not doing anything at all. My action is connect to Swamiji. Yeah. And then from there, the powers manifest.
And it's just a lot of the choice. It just has to be conscious decision of that surrendered space, I think, really ultimately. But otherwise, doing something, no, you're not doing anything. You're just being.
Yeah.
So somebody was asking, Bhuvana was also asking, have we tried moving the coconuts? That's a quick answer, but yes, we've done it many times. That's a really fun power to experiment with, because you can physically feel it. And that's one of the coolest experiences ever. When you are holding an object and you actually feel it move in your hand by your will, that's a next level experience. So I definitely recommend you guys all trying that.
And I get, like, a lot of people will see these powers manifest and they'll say, like, look, your hand just moved up and down. I'm very detailed oriented as well. I agree. Sometimes people do that. The power is manifested when somebody's holding their hand out flat and they have a coconut on it. And yes, somebody could subtly move their hand up and the coconut falls off. The other person is like, I manifested the power. That is completely not true at all. Like that, I would agree that should not happen. And it does happen sometimes. But from an authentic space, when your hand is flat, like I've expressed that power. I've seen people do it off of my own hand as well. It is very real, the power of consciousness over matter. It's simpler to start with something like a coconut rather than like a heavy anvil or rock that doesn't express and hold as much consciousness as a coconut does. Mm-hmm. So that's why a coconut is used.
And it has the liquid inside, which actually is, it's easier to connect into like liquid elements to water elements for us than to a full solid. So that's another reason why that's instructed. Yes, so Warrior Yogini asking about if we can help scan her mother. Yes, definitely, Ma. Just message us directly. Tony, I think that's you. Yeah, just message one of us and we can body scan as well. But I would say you should also do it and see what you see.
I always ask for a picture. I need a picture. If I'm doing a remote scan or remote viewing, I need to see the person. Which is a basic request. So I would say just message one of us with a picture.
And then we were getting from Davina was asking, like, when doing the consciousness over matter, doubts were still there and things were just coming up. So how do you handle it and how to connect with the guru?
Will persistence. And I connect a lot of things that I do with my past life of being an athlete. There's a lot of people that want to be professional athletes and they just fall off and eventually the cream rises to the top, so to speak. The people that make it to the top, just like the people that express the powers, are the ones that they're willing to look in and just allow the pain to be there, allow self-doubt to be there, allow yourself to go through a really uncomfortable state and still move forward despite whatever arises in your mind, whatever you're feeling in your body. When you do that with that will persistence, that's what opens up and
the breakthrough.
And the breakthrough happens.
Absolutely. And then Bhuvana was also asking that she wants to start doing puja, how to start doing it basically. I would say that's exactly what this last weekend program, I don't know if you heard about it, that our guru just initiated for this exact thing, for doing Shiva Puja and Guru Puja. It's called Shiva Diksha and Vishesha Diksha in Hinduism. You have to be initiated by a guru to do most pujas. Actually, really pretty much all pujas are through initiation. So if you're interested, I would say it's literally one of the biggest blessings. It's such an amazing thing and gift to add into your everyday. And come for the next Atmalinga program. I'm sure there's going to be another one because there's been 2 already. So I think there'll be another one. So just stay posted and make sure that you sign up so you can get initiated for that. You want to answer Elham is asking, how long will it take to sit from Sukhasana to Padmasana if he keeps doing the PBK every day?
Yeah, so I used to have really, really tight hips. Actually, my first program with Swamiji, I sat in the chairs in the back. So everybody else was sitting on the ground, on the floor, and I would sit on the chairs in the back with all the old people because my hips were so tight. I could only sit cross-legged on the floor for
that was me too.
Like 5 minutes. And then I had to get up and sit down on a chair. But what I did was the same thing. I was just will persistent with it. I would sit down on the floor for 5 minutes. As soon as like that pain started getting unbearable, I would go and sit on a chair. Once I felt ready, I would go and sit back down, just cross-legged on the floor. again, wait for that sensation where my hips would literally fall asleep, and then I'd go sit on the chair again. I just did that continuously, again and again and again. And somebody had actually asked me how to get into Padmasana. And so what I'll do is I'm going to actually create a video on this, specifically on my YouTube channel, just to give you some more details in how to open up the hips and to get into Padmasana. You're definitely going to need to do more than just practice Sukhasana, because you're actually going to need to get the hip flexibility a little bit more than what it takes to be in Sukhasana. So I'll do a video on that particular, but the same thing. It's just will persistence and sitting with pain, sitting with not even necessarily pain, but discomfort, and continuously showing up for that.
Yeah, I would say just one of the easiest things to start is sit on the floor whenever you can. It's one of the easiest ways without thinking too much to open your hips very quickly. Is like throughout your day, instead of sitting at the table or in a chair, sit on the floor, put your laptop on the floor, put your book on the floor, just sit on the floor as much as you can. That's how my hips opened, honestly, was just sitting on the floor. And then Daryl was asking, do we do any chakra balancing energy work? If so, what's your take on it?
So we do that, but not in the sense that people understand today. Each chakra, each energy center is related to certain emotions, for instance. And so we're not necessarily doing energy work. What we do is we go through completion processes. There's various other things that you can do. And there is one Acharya that is doing this in Montreal, from Montreal. And she's leading a session in each chakra. But it's not energy work and what you see in a lot of like the new age spiritual communities where you're putting various crystals on your body, etc. It's a much more emotional approach to opening up the chakras. And there's various different programs that Swamiji's revealed, such as Nithyananda.
Basically through light and sound also it's healing. Right? Yeah. A lot of different mantra.
So there's various different things that you can do. But what we do isn't from the question or the perspective that you're asking that isn't in the same way.
But also like through body scanning and Nitya healing and Atmalinga healing, people do healings on chakras as well all the time. And through body scanning, I know for me that comes up a lot. Like I see chakras a lot, not just physically, like what's wrong. I don't just see like the appendicitis or like a tight neck or like whatever that is, indigestion. I'll also sometimes see that certain chakras are blocked and then do a healing for that. So like in that sense, we integrate it.
Yeah. And I've even had visions where somebody's chakras like the size of a pea. And so you need to, you put your attention, your energy in that, and it's Swamiji's attention and his energy ultimately on that space. But it's just a way of understanding that, okay, now you need to work on this chakra. This chakra is like needs a lot of energy and a lot of support. I would always first and foremost start with though working on your emotions, going through a completion process, because that's what's really the root of the cause.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's also on YouTube, if you guys look up, amazing resource on Nithyananda YouTube channel, there is video sessions from programs that were paid programs, but they're all uploaded for free on YouTube that take you through every single chakra and the meditation process for that chakra. And it's very powerful. So I'd highly recommend doing that. It's an amazing, amazing information as well. And I think last question we will take is from Bhuvana. She's also asking, do you have to be initiated to do Guru Vandanam? No, you don't. That's the great thing. You can chant Satguru Vandanam and Purna Mantra.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
And if you don't know what that is, maybe we could post that in the link description below for a lot of people that would like to know what the opening prayer is.
Yeah, sure.
We can give a breakdown of the exact meaning. He who has attained the bliss of Brahman, the supreme joy, he who is pure, free from delusion, embodiment of wisdom, beyond the duality of the world, sky high in spirituality, he whose attention is on I am that, one with divinity, eternal without impurities, immovably established in truth, he who is witness to everything from his omniscience, beyond the mind and emotions, without the three gunas of sattva, rajas, and tamas, salutations, O that holy Guru. This is the meaning of the Satguru Vandanam. So each time that we start our our opening prayer, that's what we're saying. We're basically acknowledging our guru as this omniscient being, and bringing his space, his energy into everything that we do, everything that we say.
Absolutely. That's a great note we can end it on. Thank you guys for all your questions. Those are really cool questions to answer, and hopefully valuable information for all of you guys listening and future listeners. And this podcast, Yoga from the Source, I think we're episode 10.
Yeah,
finally, I think we made it. Episode 10 will be up on Podbean, Spotify, and iTunes shortly after we get off this live stream. We will upload it, so the audio will be available as well for you guys. Thank you guys so much again.
Yes, thank you for being here, if you're here live as well, and we will see you in future videos.
Nithyananda, everyone.
Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sarvam Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam Paruka Paramastu. Om Nithyanandam. Nithyanandam, everybody.